welcome to Plus TV Africa. I am Lakwek Banjo with the news on the hour. Civil society organisation Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project says the National Assembly violated the fundamental rights of Nigerians by cutting the proposed allocations for essential public services, including health, housing and security, to the tune of 19.15 billion naira in the 2018 budget presented by President Muhammadu Buhari. SERAP, in a statement on Thursday by its Deputy Director Timothy Adewale, said the actions of the federal lawmakers qualified as a crime against humanity and should as such be referred to the International Criminal Court. The group expressed dismay that the federal lawmakers padded the 2018 budget to the tune of 578 billion naira by inserting 6,403 projects of their own, barely a month after the Federal High Court in Lagos ordered that the principal officers of the National Assembly that allegedly padded the 2016 budget to the tune of 481 billion naira should be prosecuted. SERAP urged President Buhari to not only instruct the Attorney General of the Federation to refer to the 2018 budget cut to the ICC, but to also comply with the judgment of Justice Mohammed Idris of the Federal High Court Lagos, who ordered that all the lawmakers culpable in the padding of the 2016 budget should be prosecuted. The group said it believed that it was the failure to decisively address the padding of the 2016 budget that emboldened the lawmakers to do the same with the 2018 budget. In a related development, President Muhammadu Buhari, at the signing of the budget yesterday, said he was concerned about some of the changes made by the National Assembly to the draft he had presented. The lawmakers had cut 347 billion naira allocated to 4,700 projects and added 6,403 new projects to the tune of 578 billion naira. In an interview with Plus TV Africa, Mr. Johnson Chukwu of Cowrie Asset Management underscores the need for executive and legislative collaboration on budgets.
Ideally, in a presidential democracy, members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers. And when they buy influence peddlers, they are authorities that have the capacity to influence projects. That's on the one side. But in no democracy do you have the National Assembly members as executors, so they are not part of the executive. So ideally, if the process of consultation had taken place, whatever input they have to make into the budget should have been submitted to the executive, who would have considered it, done the proper evaluation of those things, and then the way they are found appropriate in tandem with the overall strategic objective of the party and the country, they would have been included. And those that are not found fit would have been dropped. The only concerns we have are that some of the projects that the government had made provisions for, that maybe would have advanced to the point of completion, may not be completed this fiscal year. But ultimately, what we may end up with is what they call sub-optimization or satisficing, to the extent that you are not accomplishing the highest value that you should have achieved with the resources you have. We need to look at what projects they added in. If they are infrastructural projects, they will have their own beneficial impact. But the projects that they did not allow for the full fruits might have a slowdown. For instance, when they mentioned the issue of Mambila power plant, given the level of power generation in the country, everybody should do everything to ensure that that project is completed and brought to light. They made mention of one of the auxiliary roads on the president made mention of one of the auxiliary roads on the Niger Delta, second Niger Bridge. Ordinarily, I wouldn't know whether that would have a material impact, because until the bridge is completed, the auxiliary roads will have no economic value.
Official reports say over 100 political parties may feature on the ballot paper in the upcoming 2019 general elections. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, disclosed that this at an election stakeholders summit held in Abuja, while stating that the commission lacked the power to stop political associations from applying as political parties. It noted that 138 of them have so far applied for registration as political parties. The INEC boss further disclosed that as at May the 24th, an estimated 9 million voters were added to the voters' register, bringing the sum to an estimated 80 million. He assured that the Commission is collaborating with security agencies and formulating efficient ways to prevent vote buying. The INEC chairman added that the officers of the Nigerian Immigration Service positioned at voters' registration centres across the nation have so far arrested 300 foreigners for trying to register. The trial of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Ibrahim el-Zakzaki, and his wife Zinat, which was set to commence today, has been stalled by the absence of Justice Gideon Kurada at the Kaduna High Court. The Kaduna state government is prosecuting him on an 8-count charge, including culpable homicide and conspiracy. The prosecuting and defence counsel unanimously picked July 11th as the next adjourned date for trial. El-Zakzaki and his wife were arraigned on May 15th, but the case was adjourned based on the appeal of the prosecuting counsel for time to serve other persons who are to stand trial with the Shiite leader. A Nigerian army captain is reported to have committed suicide on June 18th at the 7th Division Medical Center in Maiduguri. Military sources say the officer turned his rifle towards his abdomen and opened fire. He was then taken to medical facility for treatment but died shortly after arrival. His identity has been withheld until it is confirmed that his family members have been informed. The deceased was drafted to the Nigerian Army 22nd Armoured Brigade in Ilorin and was attached to the troops operating in Mafa local government area in Borno as part of the war against Boko Haram in the northeast. No formal comments have been made by the Defence Headquarters and the division spokesperson, but the military said the incident will be investigated. It is still unclear the situation prior to this suicide, but it is raising questions on post-traumatic stress disorder amongst soldiers fighting insurgency in the northeast. And on the foreign scene, a Bahraini court has acquitted 3 of the country's senior leaders of the opposition in involvement in spying for Qatar. The public prosecutor had in November accused the opposition Al-Wefaq Secretary General Sheikh Ali Salman and a former member of the Bahraini parliament for Al-Wefaq, Sheikh Hassan Sultan, of conspiring with Qatari officials to carry out hostile acts in the kingdom. The High Court acquitted them alongside Ali Al-Aswad, a 3rd senior member of Al-Wefaq member of Bahrain's parliament. Ahmed Al-Wadai, Director of Advocacy, Bahrain Institute for Rights and Democracy, a human rights group, commended the verdict, stating that the case should not have been initiated in the first place. Salman is already serving a 4-year prison sentence from 2015 for inciting hatred and insulting the Interior Ministry. The wife of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has been charged with fraud and breach of trust over the alleged misuse of state funds at the couple's official residence. Prosecutors in a case filed at Jerusalem's Magistrate Court accuses Mrs. Netanyahu of using state funds to pay for meals at the Prime Minister's residence worth $100,000 between 2010 and 2013. She is also alleged to have illegally paid about $10,000 for private chefs. Mrs. Netanyahu has, however, repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Presidents of Russia and Ukraine, Vladimir Putin and Petro Poroshenko, today discussed the implementation of the Minsk peace agreement, according to the RIA news agency. The details of the conversation bordered on Putin reinstating the lack of alternatives to the agreement and achieving a ceasefire. The Minsk agreement, which was signed in February 2015, has failed to end the violence between the two countries, as both parties have violated the agreement in past times. Yingluck Shinawatra, the former Thai Prime Minister, earlier today expressed gratitude on social media and also uploaded pictures of herself as she commemorates her birthday. Yingluck, whose government was overthrown by the militia in 2014, has been off the radar since August last year after a controversy surrounding a $1 billion rice purchase scheme surprisingly surfaced online, expressing gratitude to her well-wishers on her 51st birthday. And in business, according to the central bank, South Africa's current account deficit widened more than expected in the first quarter of 2018, making its largest shortfall in 2 years as the trade balance swung to a deficit after a steep decline in exports. The Reserve Bank confirmed that it widened to 4.8% of gross domestic product in the first quarter from 2.9% in the fourth quarter of 2017. This deficit recorded in the review is the largest since the first quarter of 2016 and is wider than the average forecast by economists who had expected it at 3.8% of GDP, according to Reuters. The rand, in response to the widening deficit, further extended its losses to the dollar, trading at 13.75 at 8:22 GMT from 13.6. The central bank said the quarterly trade balance swung to a deficit of 25 billion rand from a surplus of 74 billion rand as the value of exports fell sharply. Marks & Spencer is willing to integrate artificial intelligence into their retail stores and operations globally, and Microsoft seems to be the preferred partner for this. This decision was signed off earlier today, and they are willing to have AI engineers from the tech company come in and explore the value proposition that artificial intelligence brings to the table. The financial implications of this have been hushed, and we can only hazard a guess as to what will come up with this partnership. The chief executive officer of Intel Corp, Brian Zanuck, resigned on Thursday after investigations revealed a past consensual relationship with an Intel employee. This was effective immediately, as it is in violation of the company's policy of non-fraternization, which applies to all managers. The board has appointed Chief Financial Officer Robert Swan as the interim CEO, and a search for a permanent CEO with internal and external candidates has begun. Tokumbo is up next with the entertainment news.
In entertainment, following the demise of international fashion designer Kate Spade, bosses at her company will be donating $1 million to mental health and suicide prevention organizations. $250,000 will be donated to the Crisis Text Line, a charity that provides free crisis intervention. The donation will be made by managers at the Kate Spade New York Foundation. Anna Baxt, chief executive at Kate Spade New York, says Kate was a true fashion icon and inspired women to live life to the fullest. Kate's brother-in-law, David Spade, has already donated $100,000 to the National Alliance on Mental Illness since her death. The organization's donation comes 7 days after her brother by marriage, David Spade, gave in the wake of his sister-in-law's terrible suicide weeks ago. Janet Jackson is thanking her son for helping her overcome depression she has battled with her whole life. The 52-year-old superstar talked about her depression issues in an open letter to her fans for Essence magazine. She said some of her lows happened in her 30s. She said she struggles intensively with the depression and that low self-esteem might be from childhood feelings of inferiority. She also said that societal problems with racism and sexism added to the problem, and that depression is a scary condition, but she's thankful she found her way through it. The superstar also made it known in her letter that becoming a mother to her son, who is a year old with her estranged husband, Wissam Al-Mana, helped her pull through. After 13 years of marriage, Grammy Award winner Mary J. Blige and husband Kendi Isaacs, after settling their divorce out of court 3 months prior, are now officially divorced. Reports say that court documents show that the divorce was signed off on Wednesday by Los Angeles County Superior Court judge. Last year, Blige was ordered to temporarily pay Isaacs $30,000 a month for spousal support. She was also to pay $135,000 retroactively dating back to the 1st of September 2016 and $100,000 in attorney fees. The year has been busy for Blige, who has been nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Supporting Actress and Best Original Song for Mudbound. American professional wrestler and professional football player Leon Allen White, popularly known as Big Van Vader, and Vader as well, has died after battling congestive heart failure for almost 2 years. He was 63 years of age when he died, and it was confirmed by his son via social media. According to him, Vader had undergone open heart surgery in March and was recovering well before things took a turn for the worse and wasn't able to recover. Vader was a huge international star who was not only a 3-time World Championship wrestling heavyweight champ, but battled wrestlers like The Undertaker and Kane in World Wrestling Entertainment. Baywatch and Boy Meets World were TV shows where he also made appearances. And that's it on entertainment. Up next is Udoka with sports.
Hello and welcome to Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoku. Looking at the World Cup games going on so far, we saw France defeat Peru by just 1-0. Mbappe scored the only goal right there. But earlier on, it was Denmark and Australia that settled for a draw, and Christian Eriksen scored in 7 minutes. And of course, Mio Jedinak scored from the penalty spot via the VAR decision while the game between France and Peru. Of course, France has qualified for the next stage of the tournament. And in Nigeria's group, Argentina will be up against Croatia later tonight by 7 p.m. to be precise. Over to some transfer news. Fred has completed his £52 million move to Manchester United from Shakhtar Donetsk. And the Brazilian has been unveiled as a United player and has penned a 5-year deal at Old Trafford with the option to extend it by a further year. And for United boss Jose Mourinho, immediately heaped praise on the midfielder after his transfer was confirmed, saying his creative brain and passing vision were the primary reasons why he actually signed Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk. Still talking about transfers, Germany international midfielder Emre Can has completed his move to Italian champions Juventus. Emre Can joins the old lady on a free transfer after he ran down his contract at Premier League club Liverpool. And the Reds had earlier announced on June 8th that the 2017 FIFA Confederations Cup winner would leave the club when his contract ends this summer. And Emre Can joined Liverpool from German Bundesliga side Bayer Leverkusen in 2014 and went on to score 14 goals in 167 appearances for the club. He will officially become a Juventus player on the 1st of July. He has 20 caps for Germany but was left out of Joachim Löw's World Cup squad despite helping to the Confederations Cup title last summer. And Brazil head coach Tite has revealed that his star man Neymar will start the Russia 2018 FIFA World Cup Group E clash with Costa Rica on Friday. And the Paris Saint-Germain forward has been struggling with a knee problem since the start of the week and was a serious doubt for the game against the CONCACAF representatives. And Tite confirmed Neymar will start during his pre-match press conference earlier today. And now over to tennis. Wimbledon champion Gabin Muguruza was knocked out of the Nature Valley Classic with a defeat by Barbara Strykova in Birmingham. And the top seed got back into the match by breaking to lead 4-2 in the second set, but lost the next 4 games. And still on tennis, British #1 Kyle Edmund was also knocked out of the Fever Tree Championships at Queen's Club in the second round by Nick Kyrgios, who beat Britain's Andy Murray in the first round. And for Kyrgios, he was at his unpredictable best, playing hot dog shots through his legs and delivering 135 mph second serves. And he faces 2017 champion Feliciano Lopez or Milos Raonic in the quarterfinals. And that's it for Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoku. Back to you, Lakwe Banjo.
That's the news at this hour. I'm Lakwe Banjo. Do have a great evening.